Alright guys, how's it going? Today we're going to be taking a look at a side-by-side review between two cameras that I think unjustly are put in the same basket. Now, they're very different statistically, they're very different cosmetically, but people are always asking me at work, what's the difference between these two cameras? And I want to try and clear that up for you guys today. Now, the two cameras that we're going to be looking at are the 6D and Canon's 7D Mark II. Now, these cameras are so different. They're extremely different cameras, but people are always asking me, what's the difference between these two cameras? I don't understand. So we're going to break that down today, and I'm going to give you an idea statistically of what the difference between these two guys are. Now, to start with the 7D Mark II, this is an APS C sensor camera. So it's a crop sensor camera. It's not as large as the 35mm equivalent full frame that the 6D is. And what that basically means is you're going to be affected by crop factor when you're using lenses. So for example, the 6D that I usually shoot on a 12 to 24 sigma lens, which I've actually got on a 60D right now to record this video. Now, if you've seen any of my other reviews, you'll see that there is a little bit of distortion that you'd get around here in my other videos. But on the 60D, because it's affected by that crop, it has a smaller sensor, it doesn't have that barreling. It also means that you're shooting with an equivalent, your lens that you're shooting on will have a higher equivalent focal length. So at the moment it's set to 12 mils, but really it's looking more like a 24 mil lens. And that's just because you're affected by a 1.5 to 2 times magnification essentially. Now, even though these cameras both have different sensor sizes, they still have the same megapixel sensor. So they're both going to shoot at 20.2 megapixels, which is quite great. I mean, it makes them quite similar in terms of the files that they'll produce and the size of the files that they'll produce, but you are going to get a bit of difference in light transmission. Now, in terms of light transmission, your 7D Mark II is going to give you a 100 to 1600 ISO bracket, which is quite a bit lower than the 6D. Now, the 6D has a 100 to 25,600 ISO range, which makes it a lot better for low light. Now, the 7D actually has a dual Digic 6 processor, as opposed to the 6D, which has a single Digic 5 Plus processor. Now, the reason this guy needs so much power is because it can churn out so many photos per second. It's an absolute machine. So this one will shoot 11 frames per second with 65 autofocus points. So it needs to be able to pick those points really quickly, pump those photos out really fast, and be able to buffer those photos really quickly as well. And I would say that is probably why this camera is so much larger than the 6D. Now, side by side, they look quite similar. This one is slightly larger, but they have about 200 grams of difference in weight. You'd be looking at approximately 700 grams for the 6D and about 900, and I think it's 910 for the 7D Mark II. Alright, so now it's crunch time. Which do you prefer, the 6D or the 7D Mark II? Now, I bought my 6D before the 7D Mark II came out, so if I had have bought it when the 7D Mark II had been out, maybe it might have been a difference. Maybe I might have gone for the 7D instead of the 6. But the main reason that I chose not to go with that higher frame rate, with that higher processing power, with, if I had have gone back and done it again, is because for me, it's not that important. For me, the main thing as a videographer is to have a camera that's going to be good in low light conditions, and that is going to be able to get the most out of the lenses that I buy, in terms of focal length and things like that. That's not saying that if you're a photographer that the 7D, isn't for you. I think it's about taking the information that you've gotten today and putting that towards figuring out exactly what you need from a camera. Now, I do love cosmetically the 7D Mark II. I think there's a couple of things they've added to that camera which is really nice. Apart from having the scroll wheel on the back, you've also got the little directional button up here, which I think is great. That's something that they've got on the 5D Mark III, which I think is a really nice feature, just to make it quicker and easy to use. I wouldn't mind having a CF card slot as well. I think SD is great, but there are definitely faster and better cards out there at the moment, and being able to utilize that technology is really important. So yeah, there you guys have it. There's a comparison between the 7D Mark II and the 6D. I'd love to know what you think, which one you'd rather go with and why. But yeah, thanks for coming in. I hope I could help you guys out today, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye. Alright guys, thanks again for tuning in. If you like that review, there's the link to the Theta S review, the 360 cam on the left there. Feel free to leave a comment, like, subscribe, whatever, and as always guys, keep on chilling.